Hey y'all, thanks for watching. Have you ever worked on a project where you needed to cut a tenon on the end of a longer piece of stock? I mean, something where you wouldn't first go to, let's say, your table saw or your band saw or your router table to complete the task. That's what this episode is going to be about. The approach I've used to do that, which I think is pretty neat, it's worked out well for me. So I just want to show you how I do that. But before I start, take a look at some examples of what I'm talking about. Now, the first thing I should do here is recognize Baxter, who managed to work his way into this shot. This is a very old photograph. So Baxter is long gone, but he was an awesome dog. I can't say that he spent a lot of time in the shop with me. I'm sure because of the noise. He was usually up in the house, probably playing or sleeping or chewing through the power cord of one of my lamps. But great dog. Baxter's a great dog. So may he rest in peace. A moment of silence. But getting back to the table, this is what this episode's about. If you look at this trestle table, actually the table's long gone too. I sold it at a craft show that I participated in many years ago. But if you look at the bottom trestle frame, you'll see the large keyed tenon in the picture. That's what this episode's about, how I made that. This is another shot of it, just a different angle. And then you can look at this picture from my shop, me fitting the tenon through the legs, and just a couple more shots of it to kind of bring home what I'm talking about. Now, this is a more recent photograph. This is actually the bed I slept in last night. And if you look at the headboard and the footboard, the top and bottom rails of those components, as well as the side rail, this is a case where, again, I used the method that I'm going to review today to make the tenons to construct those pieces. And this is just a picture of the footboard in my shop. And this is kind of a sneak preview of what I'm talking about in making the tenon there for this piece, which is the bottom rail of the footboard. Now in this picture, this shows me cutting the top and bottom rails of the headboard and footboard to length. But I'm showing it because I actually use the same method to cut the shoulders in the tenons for those pieces. I just reduced the depth of cut on the track saw. Now this is me cutting the tenons on one of the rails for the headboard or footboard. I can't recall which one it was. Yeah, using a planer bit in my router, which is what I'll go through today. Okay, here's a piece of cherry that I'm going to use to cut the tenon. This piece actually is not that long, but for the sake of this video, let's pretend that it is. And I've already cut the shoulders. Again, I actually did this on my table saw, but as I mentioned, for a longer piece, a track saw is easier. So let's pretend I cut this with the track saw. And I've actually already gone ahead and marked the tenon using my marking gauge as I normally would. This is about a 2-inch tenon I'm going to cut. That's about a 1/2 inch thick. And as I mentioned in my examples, I'm going to use this planer bit on my router to actually cut the tenon. And as you can see on the base of the router, I've installed this offset base. This will allow me to better control the router when I'm cutting. And then I'm going to use this piece of scrap plywood as a stop, just so as I'm, again, doing the cut, I don't mess up and remove wood I don't want to remove. So I've gone ahead and mounted the planer bit into the router. And you can see that I've adjusted the depth of cut of the router to just above where I used my marking gauge for the thickness of the tenon. So now I'll start cutting. So I left a little bit of material here on the end, which, you know, you could easily clean up with a chisel. And also, you know, as they say, you can always take wood off. You can't put any back on. So now what I'll do is just flip the board over and cut the other side. So let's say I want to cut off a ½ inch of material on both sides of the tenon for the overall tenon width. And what I just mark off the end here where I want to cut and just use a handsaw. I'll cut a little bit wide again so I can ease up on where I want to be. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. Fine tooth is better. Okay. That's good. And then do the same thing on this side. Let's see. Microphone's in the way. Just cut a little faster. And then you just use your shoulder plane. You can use that to clean up the tenon to fit it. One thing I forgot to mention before I cut the ends off here, if I'm making, let's say, a through tenon or something like that where I want to keep it as square as possible so you don't see, you know, tear out, I will actually poke the corners of the tenon into the mortise to fit it first, and then come along at the end, cut off these ends, and then, you know, again, go through that whole process there to finish fitting it. So that's it. So thanks again for watching. I hope you found this useful. If so, please like and subscribe to my channel so you can be notified for future episodes. And until then, so long.